Hello lovelies, my name is Eric and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm filming on a new device, so I'm hoping that this means those two black bars that are at the side of every video will hopefully be gone, but I am concerned that maybe the audio quality is going to be a little bit lower than it would have been on the iPad that I was recording on previously. So I'm going to give this a go. Hopefully I can resolve the audio issue and maybe get some sort of external microphone or something to help with the audio quality. But in this video I'm hoping at least that the video quality is better for you, and I'm still trying to learn where to look, so bear with me in this video. This video is of course a part of my series called A Wizard Wonders, where I can talk about things that I will maybe never bring up again, and maybe don't have like a formed opinion on, but these are things that are going through my mind that I kind of wanted to voice on this platform and get your opinions on, so definitely leave any comments that you have in the comment section below. Gotta love all those things that YouTubers have to say, right? Like and subscribe, become a wizard today. Now, today I'm focusing on the topic of ethical magic, or environmental ethics in magic. I'm in a group on Facebook, and they recently put up this post, somebody recently put up a post in the Facebook group about how Palo Santo has been added to the endangered species list, along with things like sage, white sage that is, not your garden sage, your cooking sage, but your white sage, but also things like frankincense and myrrh. And my response to this was, I'm quitting magic. But a serious response is, what am I going to do now? It's really got me thinking about the most appropriate ways to sort of use this information and move forward. Now, frankincense and myrrh are really important in Solomonic Magic, which is one of the main systems that I focus in, or at least my professional work is very much rooted in the Solomonic system. So it's very hard to sort of get around this conflict of using things like frankincense and myrrh, which are endangered species, and by using them I'm sort of encouraging that sort of destruction of the planet, which is not something that I would like to partake in. Now, I think as well, a further sort of concern for me, or like limitation or restriction I guess, that I've placed on myself is this idea of using plants from the local land. Because of course in Australia we have a very strong indigenous culture here. I think over 250 different indigenous tribes in this country. So for me, I know that a lot of the plants that I'm looking at, especially native and local growing plants, are going to have attributes or qualities that are already assigned to them. Something that as an outsider, I'm not going to be privy to knowing. So it's interesting, this idea, because like my natural response would be to use eucalyptus, because I know that it's been used for exorcism and cleansing. That said, I don't know how it's been used for exorcism or cleansing, or what rituals are involved in that, because I don't have, you know, elders within that community who would share that with me, you know, because that's not something that I want to sink into or invest myself into. It's not something that I feel called to. So it's interesting then to sort of think, like, if I'm not going to use local plants and I don't want to use imported plants that are becoming endangered, like what do I use? What does one do? What does one use? And so like I say, I'm not really sure that I have an outcome, an opinion for you guys. I'm just sort of thinking about this and sort of wondering. It brings up as well, I went to a sigil workshop recently through Sacred Space, a local group that I go to, and the person that was sort of running the workshop was talking about ethical sigils, ethical use of sigils, and they were talking about how, like, with sigils, because there's something that you sort of set and forget, drawing them in the sand at the beach or in the ground or something like that is a really good and like non-impact way, or low-impact way, to sort of interact and cast your sigils and do your sigil magic. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed hearing those thoughts and like that ethical mindset, because I think as well in pagan spaces specifically, you quite often hear this rhetoric about being a nature-based religion. Now, I do not consider my path to be a nature-based religion. However, I do acknowledge that we live in the natural world and like this is our only planet, so we shouldn't kill it. But that's more of like a secular humanist kind of view than it is like a spiritual one for me. Now it does also lead me to think, like, I know of, say in Hoodoo, for instance, they use camphor blocks. And they would use they would slice the camphor blocks, right? And they would burn those on a charcoal and use those to clear and cleanse. So I know that that is something that's a system. I don't know what the status is of camphor. To be honest, I don't even know if it's what it's made of. I think it's a resin. I could be wrong. But it's very pungent and it's got a very strong scent to it. So it's not really something that I would want to necessarily burn for every ritual. I think as well, when we're talking about using techniques from other systems, we're sort of mixing our drinks at that point, and that's not really something that I would generally be for or go to. I'm not saying that it's wrong for other people, but it's not something that I want to do myself. So it's very interesting to think about how we can practice some of these maybe more traditional forms of magic while still doing that in an ethically minded way and in a resource-conscious way. Now, I was talking to somebody last night about this at a ritual that I hosted, and they were saying, like, they have started growing their own sweetgrass to use for sensing. And I thought, that is, like, a really good way to go about it, to get around it, is to grow your own plants to use for cleansing and for clearing. But I don't really have a green thumb, and like all my herbs come from the supermarket sort of thing, so I'm not really sure that that's something that's really available to me either. I don't really have a garden or anything like that, so I'm kind of limited, and I've just started to think about ways that I can do this in an ethical way and what substitutions I could make that would be appropriate, because naturally every system has its own reason for using those things behind it, so you really need to understand the logic and the metaphysics behind what you're doing. I really think that it's through that understanding of your system's metaphysics that you'll be able to come to a substitution or an appropriate, replacement. Of course, like, if you do make substitutions, though, you're always going to have those, like, grimoire purists, especially in that Solomonic system, who are going to say, like, you're not doing by the book, so you're doing it wrong. And I think that that's, like, I get why they would say that, but, like, I really don't think that destroying the planet, right, and the remaining species that we do have, I don't know that that is worth the purity of the grimoires, if that makes sense. Because as well, I think, like, you look at these grimoires and they're very much like a mishmash of things, and quite often a mishmash of different, like, manuscripts as well. So it's not as though this is, like, a constant and, unwavering sort of system of magic. There's so much nuance and fluctuation that happens. And I think it's important to recognize that. I think as well, like, I would hesitate to use the principles I understand about Solomonic magic, saying that, like, plants with this quality are ruled by this planet. Because, like I say, I know that there is mythology and history and context around the plants that grow here. I just don't know what that history and context is. So it makes it very difficult to, I guess, interact with those plants and sort of, I don't want to use the word appropriate, I don't know that you can appropriate a plant, but I guess it's just more about, like, having cultural sensitivity, right, and being aware, especially considering the travesty of the history within this country specifically, and of course that's the one I'm most familiar with, being that I live here, and knowing all the awful things, that have sort of been done by white people in this country. So to then just, like, flagrantly take from native culture and to appropriate that and use that in a way that I see fit in my great Western enlightened mind, read the sarcasm there, it seems wrong, it seems inauthentic to me, and it just seems, I guess, rude impolite, right? And I'm not sure that that's a road that I want to go down. But obviously, like, if I want to continue with sensing and using smoke cleansing, some sort of substitution rather must be made to be able to continue that practice in an ethical way. So I'm not sure what the outcome is. Maybe I'll leave a comment below this video at some point if I ever figure it out, or maybe I will do another video to follow up on this and to talk further in relation to this topic. But I think that's all that I really want to say for now. I hope that, as always, you found this video somewhat entertaining or informative, and I hope that you're all well. So until I speak to you guys next time, bye!